Hello, everybody. This is Christy Chapman here with the Photographer's Element. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited. This is one of my first live webinars, so I'm really excited to have you here with me. Now, there is a small lag between when I'm actually recording the video and when you guys see it. It's a minute, it's not very long. But a bit later, when we get into the question and answer period, you might find that I'm just a little bit behind on when kind of questions come up. So I do apologize for that. But I did list in the event page where you guys all kind of registered, I did list my email address. So if there's any questions afterwards that you have, do not hesitate to email me. I would love to chat with you guys and provide you answers to your questions. All right, so super excited to have you here, and let's get on with this webinar. So again, I just can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I think I said excited a lot, eh? I am sitting here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I would love it if you can, I believe in the question and answer section, you can type where you're from, and I can see where everyone is checking in from, so that would be super great. I don't know if you guys have ever visited Ottawa, Canada. It's very cold today. It's snowing. It's minus 21 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. It's cold. And as I said, my name is Christy Chapman. I'm one of the instructors with the Photographer's Element, which is a website that I hope you're really familiar with. If not, be sure to check them out after this session because we really offer some amazing classes. There's tutorials. We have awesome tips on our blog, on our Facebook page, on the Photographer's Element Facebook page. We have a happy hour where you can ask an expert all your burning questions and get very helpful answers. So it's a really cool website. So my class is called Get Grounded in Lightroom. It's a 4-week class where I walk you through all the modules in Lightroom and show you how to edit your photos so that you can get the results you want. You can get those edits that you've been trying to do. I am so in love with Lightroom. I know you will be too. It really speeds up your workflow process. It's really an amazing program. And I know that you'll fall in love with it once you figure out how to use it. So the next course of Get Grounded in Lightroom actually started today. And if you're interested in registering, it's not too late. You can still register. I think maybe today, tomorrow, and possibly one more day after. So you still have a couple chances to get into for this session of Get Grounded in Lightroom. And if you register for the full seat, you get 100% access to me. You'll join a private Facebook group, and I answer all your questions. Plus, with a full seat, you submit weekly homework, and I provide you with video feedback to help you improve. So I see a couple people. Oh, Florida, awesome. New York, hello everybody. I told you there's a bit of a lag between when you guys post your stuff and when I see it. So thank you very much for mentioning where you're from. So this course, this Get Grounded in Lightroom course, is for people who have never opened Lightroom before, but it's also for those people who are self-taught in Lightroom. And maybe you know that you're not using the program to its full potential, or you know that there's some things that you're not using in Lightroom. And I have to admit that while creating the course, I even picked up a few tips here and there too. So it's really, really an awesome course. So don't just take my word for it. This is what some former students had to say about Get Grounded in Lightroom. So Kelly says, there will be nothing more valuable to you as a photographer than to learn how to rock Lightroom. Christy's ability to explain Lightroom are amazing. Thank you, Kelly. Holly says, Christy has the gift. This class was a game changer for my efficiency, my confidence, and my optimism as a new photographer. Take it. And finally, Melissa says, I just want to hug Christy for the world she has opened up to me with Lightroom. I've learned how to edit an entire month of photos in just under an hour. Wow. I have my life back, plus the most beautiful images I never thought were possible with my little knowledge of photography. All right. So let's get on with the webinar. I'm going to talk to you guys for about 30 minutes about getting your photos organized into Lightroom And then I'll take some questions for maybe another little bit afterwards. I did put in the comment section a link you can go in after to the PDF of this webinar where I explain pretty much everything that I'm talking about. So that way you don't have to scribble all your notes down and you can kind of pay attention to the webinar and just kind of follow along. And then later get that PDF, you'll have all the information there. So one thing that I discovered very quickly during my last Get Grounded in Lightroom course was that people had the hardest time figuring out how to get their photos into Lightroom. And some of my students were extremely frustrated and they couldn't figure out what the link was between their hard drive and Lightroom's library. And they kind of felt like this. I think we've all felt like this at some point in our life, but I don't want it to be about Lightroom. So I quickly realized that this is the #1 frustration for people when they're learning Lightroom, which is why I created this free webinar. So the first thing you need to understand is that Lightroom is a database. It holds information about your photos, not the photos themselves. Lightroom is a non-destructive program. Essentially, it's creating a thumbnail of your photo so that you know which one it's referring to. The actual image remains on your hard drive. So when you make edits to your photo, Lightroom writes sort of a recipe card. And the great part about this is that that recipe card doesn't take up too much space on your computer, which means that you can edit the same photo a bunch of different ways. You can edit it in black and white. You could do a matte version. You could do a vibrant, colorful version. And it's not taking up memory space on your computer, not until you export it. So when you first open Lightroom, you might be surprised that none of your photos are visible. And this is because you've not made that link between Lightroom and the images on your hard drive. So before you do this, you're really going to want to make sure that your photos are well organized. Now, folder structure. If you take a look at your current folder structure that you're using for your photos, I highly recommend that you organize your photos using both dates and a descriptive name. So when naming folders containing my personal images, because I separate my personal and my professional images, I use the year and descriptor. So for example, if I have a folder that's just named 06/10/2015, it might be relevant for me right now because I know what happened on that date, but in 2 or 3 years from now, I'm going to have no idea what I did. You know, if I was at a cottage, I'm not going to remember that that happened on that exact date. So when you go back looking for those awesome photos at your cottage, you're never going to find them. So instead, I would do something like 2015, since that was the year, and maybe summer cottage. And that way I can easily find, you know, I know what year it was, at least roughly, and I know exactly what happened on that day. For my professional images, for my client images, I'm going to do something similar. So I might say 2015 Rebecca maternity, for example. And I think the date or the year is really important there because I have repeat clients. So I might have this Rebecca come back again maybe 2 years later to do maternity photos again. So then I would have 2017 Rebecca maternity, and it's just easier to find them that way. Now, if you shoot in RAW, I strongly recommend that you save all your RAW files in one place. And this will make accessing and archiving them so much easier. And within this folder, you could create subfolders, maybe for personal, professional. And then within each of those, you could do additional subfolders based on the event or the client, kind of using a folder naming system that we had just talked about. So if your image folders are a bit of a mess right now, don't worry. I think that the best way to clean them up is in Lightroom itself, which I'm going to show you in a couple minutes. Okay, and so this is about the folder structure, so just the dates and the descriptive names. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to Lightroom, and we're going to give me 2 seconds while I do a switch over. Let's take a look at Lightroom. Just a second. Got to figure out this Google Hangouts thing. There we go, Lightroom. Perfect. So here is Lightroom. Okay. So remember that Lightroom is making that link between Lightroom and your computer hard drive. So I'm in the Lightroom library module right now. And if you wanted to import images, you would come down here and there's an import button right here. So we're going to click on that. This opens up the import dialog window. You'll see on the left-hand side here, it shows you locations on your hard drive and where you're going to find your folders for your pictures. At the top panel here are your options for importing your images. And the right-hand panel gives you options for how you want to handle your images while importing them into Lightroom. So first, I just want to draw your attention to this top panel. So you have three options here on how your images are imported into Lightroom. So the first one is copy, which copies the photo files to the folder you choose. The next one is move, which moves the photo files to the folder you choose. And with this option, the files are removed from their original location to the new location that you specify. And keep keeps the photos in their current location and adds a reference to the photo in Lightroom. And since the files that we're looking to import into Lightroom are currently on your computer's hard drive, you will want to add them. Because if you copied them, you would be making a copy of all of those files and saving them to another location, which means that you would have saved them twice on your computer in two different spots, and that means it's taking up double the space. If you move them, you would actually be taking them from their current location and moving them to a new location. So we're going to select Add. Now, normally, in order to kind of, unless you know exactly where your photos are, sometimes you have to go through, it's users, and I think maybe Christy, and then I have to go to pictures. I want to show you a super easy way that you can add your photos. So I'm just going to cancel out of this. And I once again just need to change my view. Bear with me. I'm just going to do entire screen. It goes wonky for 2 seconds. Okay. So here we are in Lightroom. So I know that my pictures are right here under my pictures on my hard drive. So here they are, Christy's photos. So what you can do is you can literally grab the file and drag it over. So you'll see my little icon changes. If you try to go somewhere else, you get sort of a cannot do it icon. So we're going to pull it over and we're going to drop it. It will automatically open the import dialog box, and it will automatically show exactly where your photos are located. In this case, Lightroom is going to assume that you want to add, because it knows that you want to add these photos to your Lightroom catalog, which is exactly what we want. So good on Lightroom. Now, if for some reason you don't see, if you do this and you don't automatically see all your photos, you may have to make sure that you click this include subfolder little option right here. So if you first do this and you're like, where'd all my pictures go? I know I have, a whole bunch of photos in these. Just make sure you click include subfolder. Another thing you need to know is that all of these pictures that have little check marks, those are the pictures that you are going to import. If there's a photo here you don't necessarily want to import, like I had that little clip art, here it is, that little clip art picture, I don't need to import that into Lightroom. So I'll just unclick it, and there we go, it's gone. So anything that has a little check mark is going to be brought over. So just be aware of that. And then we're just going to click import, and they are all importing in. So now that link is being made between Lightroom and your hard drive. So any changes that you make in one will have an effect on the other. So for example, if outside of Lightroom you make a change to a folder, Lightroom will lose that link that it created, and you'll get a little question mark. So I will show you. Let's go into here. So let's say family trip. I want to rename it. Oops. I want to rename it. I realize I should put a date. So let's say 2010 family trip. Great. So it's changed on my hard drive. And if we go into Lightroom, Lightroom can't find that folder anymore because it's not named family trip. So you get this little question mark beside the image. And the pictures that were in that folder get these little exclamation mark. And if you hover, it says the photo is missing. Now, if this ever happens to you, it's super easy to fix. You just right click on the icon here, find missing folder. then you just have to go and actually find the folder, and then it makes the link. So it's reestablished. This is why I think it's super important to make your changes directly into Lightroom instead of the other way around, so that you don't confuse the program. So let's do an example. I'm going to show you, we're going to rename one of the folders. So let's rename this folder here, which is an example of what I had said maybe not to do, is to just use a date, because I don't know what happened on June 10th. So in this case, it was a camping trip. So let's rename this. We'll rename it. And let's, sticking with our formula, say 2015. We'll say camping. And we'll save that. So it is changed here, 2015 camping. And let's take a look at our hard drive. And it's been changed on the hard drive to 2015 camping. Now, I know that a lot of people keep their RAW files and their JPEG files in the same folder, which is the case for this here. So what is happening here is these are two of the exact same photos. And if you hover, this one is a JPEG, and this one is a RAW file, the NEF, which is the Nikon camera RAW file. So in this one folder, I have all my RAW files and all my JPEG files in the same. And if you remember, I said that you should try to keep all your RAW files together. So I'm going to separate my RAW images from this camping and put them into a RAW folder. If you can't tell which ones are RAW, you have an option here at the top to filter through your photos based on a ton of criteria. So there's some listed here. And if you don't find the one that you want, which I don't see, you can click these little arrow keys. So file type. So I have JPEG and RAW images. So I just want to see all the RAW images. And that's what it's showing me right here. So they're all selected. You can see I have 28 of the 56 photos selected. I'm just going to do a control A, not control S, control A. So it selects all the images. And the first thing I actually want to, okay. And then you are going to right click, or you're going to, you want to right click here, sorry. And you want to, first we have to create a folder inside of RAW. So we will call this our 2000, what was the other one? 2015 camping RAW, because these are our RAW images. So we'll create that. So there it is there. And again, if we look at the your computer's hard drive and you go into RAW, you'll see that that file has been created. So these are all of our RAW images. You're going to control select all, and you can grab the photo. You don't grab the edge, you grab the actual photo, and you can just drag it into that. So you do get a pop-up message that lets you know that you are actually going to move these on your hard drive as well. And we'll just say, yep, move. So there they go. They're all moving over. I'm just going to turn off this filter now. And so only our JPEG photos are remaining. At the top here, you have a status box that gives you an indicator of how long this action is going to take. And if we go and look in here, all of our photos are in here. Now, sometimes Lightroom gets glitchy, and for whatever reason, it's normally the last or the first photo that you're transferring. It just couldn't be moved. So that's fine. I believe it's this file here. Yeah. So we'll just take it and we'll move it over, and then it'll go over. I don't know if anyone else has that glitch in Lightroom, but I get that all the time. So now all of our photos, all of our RAW files have been moved under RAW, and they are here in this folder. So at this point, you could go through and you can make a bunch of changes to your library, or to your folder structure, so that it's nice and organized. Now, a big part about keeping organized is getting rid of the clutter. And I'm just going to go to these RAW images here. So this is a session that I did. These are the RAW images. They have not been edited yet. And when you're going through your images and you cull them, which means you're going through to decide which ones to keep, what I normally do is I will go through and I'm going to double click to make the picture bigger. And on my keyboard, I will select a 5 to say I'm going to keep it, or I will select an X, which is rejected. Now, RAW files take up a lot of space on your computer. So if you have a photo that's out of focus, or if your subject's eyes are closed, then there's no reason to keep it. You're not going to use that photo again. So you might as well delete it. You're going to delete it from your computer. This is going to save you space and it's going to declutter your folders. So for example, if I take a look at this picture, maybe this picture is a keeper. So I'm just going to assign it a 5, go through 5. I was hoping I would come across a photo where someone's eyes were closed. But let's pretend we didn't like this photo. So you would set it as rejected. You come up here to photo, delete rejected photo, and you want to actually delete it from disk, and it's going to delete and move it to your computer's recycle bin, and it's going to be removed from Lightroom. So now that photo is gone. And so you really want to do that with those photos that I said are like out of focus or people's eyes are closed. You're not going to use them again. There's no reason to keep them. So now what I really want to emphasize here is that Lightroom, and I said this before, but it's not actually touching, it's not affecting your original image, not until you export it. Although it still doesn't touch the original image, it doesn't take up any room in your computer, and when you export it, it creates a new JPEG. So I just wanted to show you really quickly what this could look like. So I'm going to move into the Develop module, and let's just apply a black and white edit. So here's the photo, black and white. Looks beautiful. Can't wait to give it to the client. I just used a preset really quickly there in case you're wondering how I did that so fast. We're going to go back to the library module, and we're going to export this photo. Now, one thing I'm just going to change, there's different views here of how you view the photo. I'm going to go back to that grid view where we can see all of the images. So I only have one photo selected. I'm going to export one photo. If ever you want to export more than one, you can hit Shift and select whichever photos you want. Or you could do the Control All and select all of them if that's what you want. So we're going to go to Export here. And so this is the export dialog box, and I talk more in my course about what all the options are here. But what we're going to do is we're going to choose a new spot to export these photos. So I'm no longer going to save these in my RAW file. I'm going to create a new folder for them, and I will call this maybe 2015 Taggart, since it's the Taggart family. Perfect. Select that folder, and I'm just going to make sure it's the file name, and we will export it. So now, okay, it's exporting. I'll show you on the hard drive. So here it is, 2015 Taggart. So if we go back into the RAW folder here, the original has not been changed. This is the original here. It's still the exact same. So Lightroom didn't actually change your original. It's still as is. And it wasn't until I exported it that it actually created a new. Now essentially that image is there twice. And then it's saved on our computer. Now, going forward, from this point forward, I will encourage you to always import new images directly into Lightroom from your camera's memory card. This will save you time and keep you organized. There is no reason why you need to download your images and then import them into Lightroom. Just import directly into Lightroom, and they will also be saved onto your hard drive. So let me show you an example. We're going to hit import here. Now I just plugged in a memory card into my computer. And when you do that, whenever Lightroom detects a memory card, it automatically goes to that location. So here are a bunch of images from the recent Christmas holidays. These are some family photos of mine. And these are all RAW files. So I am going to copy them. That's the only option you have when you copy over from a memory card. And I'm going to add these into my photos, into RAW. And up here you can put it into a subfolder. So I will call this 2015 raw. So now I know those are all my 2015. And again, I have check marks. I have selected all of the photos that I want to import. If you could see right off the bat that there was one you didn't want to import, you could uncheck those photos if you wanted to. And we'll say import. So you'll see that it's adding another folder right here. And it's importing all of my images. And there's a little status bar up here that tells you how long it's going to take to do that. And if we go to the hard drive, under raw, you'll see that the folder has been created on my hard drive, and there are the images loading on my hard drive. So we'll just close that. So I really encourage you that from this point forward, when you're loading new photos into Lightroom, to do it directly, or onto your computer, do it directly through Lightroom. Now, another thing that is really important is to back up your folders. It's so important to make backups on an external hard drive of your images, your image file, and your folders. And if you have all of your raw files together, it's super easy to back those up. You can just pull over that. You can just make a copy of that one folder, that one raw folder, and bring it over. Now, this is really important because raw files are quite large, and maybe depending on how many photos I take, every couple months or so, I might go in and actually delete off of my computer a bunch of raw folder files, which I have made sure that I backed up ahead of time. Always make sure you double check that you backed up onto an external hard drive. Because to be honest, and especially my client photos, how often do you go back and look at those raw files that you worked on? After you've gone through, you've culled them, you've picked the best ones, you've edited them, you've exported them as JPEG photos, and you've delivered them to the clients. How often do you go back and look at those raw images? For me, it's almost never. I always have a backup on my external hard drive, so I haven't lost them in case something ever happened and the client came back, or I wanted to play around with the photo again. But I don't keep them on my computer hard drive because they take up so much space. So I will go and I will delete them. And it's super easy to do because they're all in one raw folder, and I can just go in and delete them. So essentially, let's just go back here to my, sorry for this little, how that goes all wonky on us. Okay. And here are those import options. I do cover those in the PDF that I give you, so don't worry too much about writing all that down. But I do want to summarize very quickly what we talked about, because these are the things that I want you to keep in mind. So keep a good folder structure. Keep a structure that makes sense with a date and a descriptive name. Make your organizational changes directly in Lightroom. Import your images from your memory card directly into Lightroom. Delete those rejected images. The out of focus ones, the closed eyes ones, you're not going to look at them again. Delete them. And finally, back up your files. Back up your images onto an external hard drive so that you don't lose them, not only for the purpose of maybe removing them from your computer, but also because you never know what could happen. And I would hate for anyone to lose any images that they had not backed up onto their computer's external hard drive. So that brings me to the end of my webinar. I know that there's a little bit of a lag in the program here, but if anyone has any questions that they wanted to type into the Q&A section, that would be great. Another thing, while you guys are typing in your questions, I hope people have questions. If not, that's fine too. And if you think of some later, I do have an email address there. So you can always send me an email. So while I'm waiting for that, I did want to let you guys know that I just posted a blog post on the Photographer's Elements website. So this is the website here. There's a little sneak peek to the Get Grounded in Lightroom course. And let me do a screen share here so you can see it. Where would it be? I'm going to have to do an entire screen, which gets a little weird for 2 seconds. Here we go. So this is the Photographer's Elements website. This is their blog. So I just posted this little New Year's resolution blog post. There is a little video here, a little sneak peek into the Get Grounded in Lightroom course. It's one of the modules, so you can take a look at that. And just for fun, because I thought maybe I could bribe you guys into checking out this blog post, if you click here, I added a couple of Lightroom presets that I kind of put together. And so you can download those presets here too. So I will add this link to the little comment section on the Google Plus site there. And that way you guys can have access to that. Alrighty. So once again, any questions? Let me just take a look here. I don't have any questions coming in yet. And I'm not sure if that's because there's a lag or maybe everyone understood it really good. I can take a look here at some people, Rochester, Riverview, Florida. Awesome. Grafton, New York, Florida, Utah. Oh, it's so great to have a bunch of people from all over the place. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Okay, well, oh, did I get a question there? How do you use presets in Lightroom? So to use presets in Lightroom, there's a couple ways. You can download presets that you use, or you can make them yourself. Presets are pretty awesome, but they can also be, they can also hurt you a little bit. And maybe I'll just take a look. I'll try to go back to my Lightroom program. Lightroom, here we go. So let's look at a preset. So I have a whole bunch of presets here. And Lightroom comes equipped with these Lightrooms here, or these presets here. And you can only access your presets if you're in the Develop module. So if you're in the Library module, this becomes where all your folders are. And if you're in the Develop module, then you have access to these presets. And so you can go in and you literally can just click on a preset and it'll show you what your photo could look like using those different presets. And you'll see on the side here, the little sliders move, because what this is doing is it's applying different edits to your image. Now, the trick with presets is that it doesn't know what image you're working with. So sometimes you have to go in. Obviously, this doesn't look super great. You're still going to have to bump up the exposure a bit and change it. You can also create your own presets if you have a style of editing that you would want to apply to all of your images. You could definitely do that. I don't have time to cover all that right now, but it's definitely covered in the course. So someone was asking, they came in a bit late and they want to see the beginning of the video. Yes, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure this is recorded. So what will probably happen is we will post on the Photographer's Element somewhere. There will be a posting of this recording. So don't worry if you miss this. Any tips for organizing the mess I've already created by not importing directly into Lightroom? So really what you're going to want to do there is sort of follow what we had talked about earlier in this session. You're going to drag and drop your folders directly into Lightroom and you're going to start organizing there. So you can grab, one of your parent folders in your hard drive and just drag it over, and Lightroom will include all of the subfolders that are underneath that parent folder. And then once you're in Lightroom, you can mix them all up. Oh, and sorry, I read your question wrong. By not importing directly into Lightroom. So if you have zero plans to import your folders into Lightroom, you could use the same tricks that I had given you and sort your hard drive out before you go into Lightroom. So that would mean creating a separate folder for raw images. You would have to create subfolders and pull in. So it's not easy. It's not going to be a lot of fun, but sometimes you do need to do that to make sure that your folders are organized. And you know what? Take it in little bits. Do little bits here and there. One day, tackle a couple folders. Another day, tackle another couple folders. Don't drive yourself crazy by spending like a whole day or a whole weekend working on it. So for the link and whatnot for the blog, and I think I can go to it. to show you. It's not one of the screen share options. Let me see if I click on that. I'm getting used to this Google Hangout here, so I have to go to entire screen. So I apologize for the wonkiness. So here we go. I will copy this link to the blog post, and it has the preview of the course, and it has the link to the presets. And if you sign up for the course, there's a couple extra presets that I gift to you during the session. So it's another bonus to taking the Get Grounded in Lightroom course. So I'll just check if there's, oh, sorry about that. Go back to the questions. And any other questions? That looks like most of the questions that I had. So again, I did put the email on the comment section. If you guys think of something a little bit later, definitely feel free to send me an email and I'll help out as much as I can. And I hope that some of you sign up for Get Grounded in Lightroom because it's a really awesome course. And I think most of you are already Photographer Element, the Photographer's Element followers, but keep following because there's lots of really exciting stuff coming. So thank you very much, guys. And I hope you have a great evening.